to the Wellness Check. I got a couple requests to talk a little bit more about what EMDR actually stands for. Obviously, I do a lot of videos on EMDR. I am an EMDR practitioner, but what does it stand for and what does it mean? We call it EMDR for short because the whole entire meaning of EMDR is very long and it can be kind of confusing. So I'm going to break it down. In today's video, we're going to be focusing on briefly what the 8 phases of EMDR are, what the makeup of the 8 phases are, as well as what the D stands for in EMDR. So if you were to spell out EMDR in its full words, it would say eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. Before I get into what the D means for desensitization, let's kind of get into the 8 phases of EMDR. So if someone is coming into a therapist's office looking for EMDR, just to let you know, we're not going to dive right into the trauma processing immediately. There's actually a lot of steps that we have to kind of work through before beginning the desensitization process. So when we're talking about the 8 phases of EMDR, really half of them are getting to know you, developing rapport, getting a really detailed history of who you are, what's happened in your life, how do you respond to stress, how does trauma affect you personally, what is that experience like? And then we also do a lot of grounding work. So we always teach our clients a set, if not a breadth work of grounding and resourcing skills. And these skills can be used in therapy after talking about really hard stuff, if it's a tough EMDR session, to help regulate you before you leave. But also these skills can be used just in your day-to-day life when you're not in the office with your therapist. And I always tell people the more that know these skills, the better. Go home and teach them to your friends, teach them to your children or your partner. Really, once you learn how to do these really simple grounding skills here in the office, we want you to go practice them. We want you to go teach other people how to do them if it's appropriate. So we're taking an assessment of the history. We're teaching you a lot of skills. We have to set up the protocol. That's what my last video was about, was what to expect when setting up for EMDR. Then we get into the D part, which is desensitization. Also a big word. It's a mouthful. What does it mean and how does it pertain to you if you are someone who's looking for trauma therapy? So the desensitization portion of EMDR is the nitty-gritty. This is where we are actually doing the trauma processing. And if you watch my last video, I'll put the link down below. You will kind of begin to put together the sequence of how this is going to work. We've filled out the protocol together, which is a series of 8 or so questions, really zooming into what it is specifically that you want to focus on. Is it a motor vehicle accident? Is it family of origin? Issues with mom and dad growing up? Is it a divorce? Is it grief and loss? What is it that we're focusing on, first of all? How do you feel about it? What is the negative message or belief that you have about yourself through this process, right? So right after that, right after setting up the protocol and putting all of these thoughts and feelings, what we call online, meaning we're feeling it, we're thinking about it, the box is open, we're going to go into desensitization. This is where you use with your therapist the eye movement, which is the EM part of EMDR. And you can do this in a number of ways. I also have other videos talking about multiple forms of what's called bilateral stimulation. And bilateral stimulation is what we use to activate both hemispheres of the brain simultaneously while thinking about specific things and feeling the associated emotions with it in a very safe, contained way. So desensitization is where we're really working through the hard stuff. If we're talking about grief and loss, we're going through the emotions of who it is that you lost, what happened, how do you feel about it, what are the messages that you get about it, how does that feel in your body while doing bilateral stimulation. And again, as a review, that could be, watching my fingers go across your vision field. That could be using the TheraTappers, which buzz alternatively in your hand. That could be doing butterfly taps, which is really something that you can do on your own, right? Either on the sides of your arms or on the tops of your knees. Lots of different ways to do bilateral stimulation. And the goal here is to get the distress level way down. So in that protocol that we filled out right before starting desensitization, and every time we meet, we're asking for numbers on an activation scale. And it goes 0 to 10. So 0 would be, I feel nothing. I'm not activated by this at all. It doesn't feel very distressing. I'm good. All the way to 10, which is the highest amount of distress you could possibly experience. Maybe you feel like you're on the verge of a panic attack. Maybe you want to hightail out of my office. We gauge where you are during the session and at the beginning of the session and at the end of the session with that distress scale. So we have an idea of where you're starting, right? You might start at an 8 or 9 or a 7 or an 8, right? And through the desensitization process, we are really working on measurable ways to decrease that number. And ideally, we want to get it to a 0. If a 1 is as good as we can get, we're going to take the 1. We're going to still kind of let you live your life and practice life at that point with that 1. And likely it'll go down to 0 on its own. Or we can just do a little bit more work, what I call squeezing the lemon, to get every last drop out to make sure that we have completely desensitized the material that you wanted to work on. That's what we mean by desensitization. We're not, making you forget that anything happened. You can still very much remember the events and recall them and talk about them. But the physiological distress that accompanies it, the overwhelming sense of emotion or negative self-belief that accompanies that memory is going to be desensitized. We're going to bring it down to a 0 or to a 1. And there are ways as a clinician that we know that's happening, and there are ways as a client where you begin to learn the process and know if that's happening inside your own mind and body. Desensitization is one of my most favorite parts to work through. It can feel exhausting to be the client. I myself have had lots of EMDR done. I know what it's like to be on both sides of the room. Some feedback I've gotten over the years is that on a tough EMDR day, it feels like you just want to take a nap. You're tired. Maybe you have a little bit of a headache. I kind of equate it to, it feels like you just sat for a really big, long exam. Your brain is tired. It's really been working on a level that it's not used to being tapped into to heal the trauma. So that's what's happening. And sometimes EMDR sessions are really powerful and positive, and people leave here feeling jazzed up and excited and confident. You just kind of don't know what you're going to get. But all of it is on a spectrum, and all of it is done in a very safe and appropriate way. So, again, EMDR, eye movement desensitization, and reprocessing. My next video is going to be on the R, reprocessing. What is it? Why is it a part of EMDR? And why is it essential to closing the gap between why you came into therapy and how you know you're ready to graduate from therapy? The EM, as a review, is just eye movement. So the studies show, the research show that there's something really magical that happens when your eyes dart from left to right. Right? So it's kind of similar to REM sleep, rapid eye movement stage of sleep. So when your brain is moving, your eyes are moving left to right like this, and you're really thinking about the protocol and everything that we've set up, that is your brain being able to heal the traumas, the experiences, the side effects from all of those in a really wonderful way. So I hope that helps to understand a little bit more about EMDR, what desensitization is, why it's an absolutely crucial part to the EMDR healing trauma process, and maybe what to expect. So stay tuned for my next video. I will be talking about R, reprocessing, and why it is so helpful. Thank you for checking in with your wellness. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.